A hard session for you because you have to stay awake after lunch. We are going to talk about perhaps one of the easier sections to write in a scientific paper. The methods section, which is sometimes called materials and methods, but in some journals it's called experimental procedures. Why do we have a materials and methods section? Any ideas? Don't read the paper. Why do we write down our methods in the paper? What was the comment? Yes, that's very important, particularly in technique papers where you want somebody to follow your technique the same way that you did. Many people would say that you have a methods section so that others can repeat your work. But that's very, very, very unusual. Most people don't want to do exactly what you did in an experiment. They will improve on it, they will use their own methods, they will use variations to the method that you've written. And it's very, very unusual that somebody would use the same varieties, the same soils, the same climate to repeat what you did. So we have a materials and methods section for a number of other very important reasons. The first one is so that people are happy that you did your research correctly, that you did use the proper methods, that you were thorough in what you did, and that they can therefore believe your results. That the work was properly replicated. And how was it replicated? What design did you use? Have you described that thoroughly? Were the treatments properly randomized? Was the experiment blocked? In the lab, did you do repeat runs to make sure that your repeatability of your method was sound? Was the methodology that you used modern and appropriate to the study? Or did you use something that was 50 years old and people have since developed much better methods that you've ignored? It's not to say that there's anything wrong with the old method, it's just that there are better methods that give you more credible results. And what about the stats that you used? Did you in fact use the right stats package in the correct way? So if you said that you used a randomized block design, did you truly use the right analysis for the analysis of variance that you carried out? So there's a lot of reasons why you have a materials and methods section. It's seldom because somebody will repeat your work. It's mostly because they want to be sure that the results that you present were discovered using the right methods, the right procedures. When you are writing your work, if you've used somebody else's method, you don't need to describe that again. So if you used Hoagland's solution as the liquid medium for growing your plants, then you cite Arnon and Hoagland, 1939 I think was the reference, without having to go into all of the detail. Unless you've modified it, in which case you cite the original reference and then have a section as to how you had modified their method. So don't write down in full somebody else's method if you've used it. Just cite the reference that's relevant. That's all that you need to do.
Let me ask you some questions. So because many authors say this method modified minimal modified, and then they did not say anything about
Right. Yes, if you're going to say you modified somebody's method, you must say how you modified it.
Yes.
Otherwise, I don't know how to trust your results, because I don't know whether you've done something good or something bad. So I need to know how you've modified things. You modified it by using a different form of the chemical, or you modified it by using a different concentration.
So in this case, it means that the author should be explained, right?
Yes, the author should explain exactly how they modified the method.
Even though the method procedure is wrong, in long sentence, like maybe like a few of 5 or 6 lines, so something like that.
Yes, it may take a paragraph to explain how you modified the method, but you really need to put that paragraph in there. Don't be worried about it being too long. If it's too long, the editor or the referees will advise you how to shorten it. Okay. If the method that you're using is new or is novel, different in some way, then you should explain that in full. All of the details. What equipment you use, what chemicals you use, what concentrations, perhaps even the source that you got those chemicals from, and so on. So that people can understand exactly what you did. That's if your method is completely new. Okay, you will understand that the method section or the materials and method section pretty much always goes before the results. Now, we discussed this morning that that's not always the case, but I think for most of you in biology, then materials and methods precedes results. And you need to think about how you're going to link those, because people will expect to read a sequence of information in the methods and then expect to see that same sequence in the results. So you put the general information first, and again, given that a lot of you are in biology, where was the experiment done? Well, it was probably done in Thailand. Where in Thailand? Well, it was probably done in Thonburi, and it was on a particular soil type. What plants were used? Well, they were mangoes, and they were spaced at certain spacings, and they received regular fertilizer and spray chemical treatment, and so on. So the general information goes first. Then you follow it with information that is similar to the order that appears in the results about the exact methods that you used to get the results that you achieved. You might find it useful to use subheadings. Nitrogen analyses, potassium analyses, enzyme assays. Subheadings like that show the reader where to find the information in the methods. Then when you get to the results, same subheadings, nitrogen analyses, enzyme bioassays. So that you've got some signposts through the different sections of the paper which are consistent and easy to follow by the reader. And you will typically end the method section with a piece about the statistics that you used. Just about all materials and methods sections will have the stats at the end in a separate little paragraph. Easy to find, easy to understand. Right, I'd like you to take the handouts that you picked up this morning, and on the top right hand side, number 1 and number 2. And I'd like you to read parts of number 1 and parts of number 2, and then we'll have a discussion about each of those. You don't need to understand the science, just try and understand the style of writing in number 1 and the style of writing in number 2. You've got about 5 minutes to read through those. There's no rush.
5 minutes is not enough.